Chapter 1. The concrete walls were an exercise in monotony. Mona Lisa O'Neill sat on the thin mattress with her legs crossed and stared at them. Zen, she thought. I'm being zen. She had that thought for hours on end, day after day. The walls in front of her were 8 feet long, 8 feet high, solid construction with no visible grooves except where it met the ceiling and floor. Her back leaned against its twin 5 feet away. A 5 by 8 space to call her own for the next 5 years. At first, she tried to be optimistic about it. 5 years was better than 20 the prosecutor had threatened her with. 5 months into her first year, she wasn't so sure. The cell was unadorned on purpose, plain. Not as a form of punishment, but because almost every government facility on Mars was Spartan, on purpose. She would know millions of those credits had flown through her hands. Buster's hands, she corrected, although she had a part in it. He was why she was here, though. She made no mistake about that. Mona Lisa stared at 3 tiny-inch ports that shot regulated air into the room, though she had never seen Earth except in pictures. She could draw lines in her head for the continents and blue waters, though she had never seen a real ocean, never seen a blue sky. Even with all the money, she had never taken a trip back to Earth, which preyed on her. Time alone gave her time to think about regrets, about getting involved with a notorious gangster who ran entire sections of the hubs and space stations that dotted the galaxy between home and Earth. Regret made her angry at him, angry at herself. So she practiced Zen, breathing, which she was doing when the door opened and one of the guards peeked in. "What are you looking at?" she snapped. Mona Lisa knew she had that look. She had been called beautiful for her whole life, a gift from her Irish father and Italian mother, and some genetic lottery that made her features perfect by a dozen standards. The kind of face men went to war over. "Get up, inmate." She didn't recognise him, but he didn't seem impressed by her looks. He waited by the door while she slipped her legs over the edge of her bed and stood to stretch, taking her time. In prison, there's nothing but time and little distraction. Whatever it was, could keep her mind occupied for the next few months. "Move." She sauntered to the door, swishing and swaying in a way that drove most males crazy. Buster had told her once she oozed sexy, and she knew exactly what that meant, and how to work it, so she got her way. The guard stared at her with flat eyes. She wouldn't want to play poker with him either, because his face was an emotionless mask. Unconventionally handsome, she thought, as she tried to brush up against him and bring him around. But he was fast, slipping her past so she would be in the hall, and he was still in the doorway. Right. He didn't need to point. His was a voice used to giving orders and having them followed. He stood straight, arms to his side, and towered over a 5'2" frame by almost a foot. Most of the guards kept their hands on their pleather prison issue belts with standard taser guns close by. Not this one, though. He looked relaxed, unconcerned. It kind of hurt her feelings that he didn't consider her a threat. "Where are we going?" She added a suggestive lit to her voice, a promise of pleasures and innuendo. "Warden, inmate," he nodded. That shut her up. She had seen the warden once upon being delivered to the penal institution and remembered him as a sweaty scarecrow of a man who got nervous at the sight of her. But she had no reason to be called to his office before. "Why?" she asked. But the mask didn't move, didn't tell her anything. The guard just kept staring, waiting for her to follow his orders. After a moment, she did.